he's gonna be in the next 28 Years Later movie too.
Hopefully.
I hope so. Yeah,
Hopefully. I mean,
he's
I,
great.
f- I, f- I feel like they're sort of giving 28 years later the Dune treatment, where
Mm.
Dune Part 1 is just the world building, you're introduced to the characters, and there's like a bit of an emotional arc to it. And then 28 years later, the Bone Temple, you sort of see a more progression in the story. And then the third one is the grand finale of all. What's up, y'all? This is Pree's Perspective with me, Preeta. So, today we'll be talking about 28 Years Later, which is, I believe, the third installment in the 28 film franchise started by Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. The OG gang has reunited again for this third film. And I actually got a chance to go for a press screening for it, so I'm not gonna do this review alone. I'm joined by the one and only Jonathan Sim. What's up?
So, doing good. What's up?
What's up? How you doing?
Amazing. Excited to talk about this movie. Very.
Yeah. This has been in my letterbox watch list for quite some time, so I was so happy that we finally got a screening of it.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm actually gonna start asking you, what were some of the things which didn't work out for you in the movie?
Interesting. I mean, I feel like most of the choices in this movie did work for me because I mean, it's obviously we have director Danny Boyle, and he's working on this movie again. He's coming back to the series because he did 28 Days Later, but he didn't return to direct 28 Weeks Later.
Right.
At the time, he was working on the movie Sunshine. And so, this is him coming back to his franchise, and he's definitely doing a lot of bold creative choices I know for a fact won't work for everyone, and I've seen some of the discourse online that it hasn't. I know that some things that were maybe a little bit more distracting. I mean, I know that his, for example, they talked about how he used this big iPhone rig.
Oh yes,
Right?
that was
Very-
off-putting for me
It
too.
was it's like a cool theory. I think cool in theory. It does get a little bit distracting at some points because there are moments where a character will get killed and then it'll freeze and then
Yeah.
around them a
Yeah.
little bit. And it's video gamey. It's very video
Right.
gamey.
It's very video gamey.
I compared it a little bit. Some people are comparing it to The Matrix. I compared it to a little bit more of Uwe Boll's House of the Dead, which is not a good movie, but
Right.
it's a very distinct style, and it's definitely cool, but it also just it does take me out of the movie for a little bit. I mean, I know another thing that was a little bit I guess worrying to me was I think towards the end, I think the movie sort of jumps between a lot of very different tones.
Right.
And that was something that I wasn't too I wasn't in love with because I think so the third act is not a very traditional third act. I think it's not a very exciting action sequence, nor is it
Right.
a horror set piece. This is probably the most emotional 20
Right.
later
Yes.
movie that we've gotten. It's and it's very especially towards the back half when we have. By the way, am I allowed to say spoilers in this or
You're allowed. It's
Okay.
out. You're allowed to
Okay.
say
I
spoilers.
can say spoilers. All right.
Spoilies.
Spoil away. Good. Cool. So obviously we have the relationship between the kid and his mother in this, and Jodie Comer, by the way, gives
Oh yeah.
one of the best
Snaps to her.
performances. All right, all praise, so much praise for Jodie Comer. She's
Yes.
so incredible, and especially when she ends up being died. It's and the kid, by the way, the kid.
Oh my gosh, the kid.
So,
This is
so good.
this is the year for best performances by child actors. If you've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, this Bring Her Back, of course, is one of them. No, I want to give a shout out to this kid, Alfie Williams. That's his
Yes.
name. Yeah, look that up, and it was, yeah, he's excellent. He has so much dramatic material to work with, and he really sells it, especially in like these very tear-jerking scenes. I
Oh
remember
my gosh, yeah.
back when I went to that the screening of the first 28 minutes of 28 Years Later. I went to the
Right.
screening several weeks ago, and they asked like, oh, what's something that we should know, what should we know about the rest of the movie? And Jodie Comer just said, "Bring a tissue," and I think
Oh
that
my
sums it up
god, yeah,
pretty
yeah,
well.
yeah.
I think, and I think yeah, so it's very emotional, very tear jerking, and I think like another thing that people aren't like thinking about too much, but it really hit me when I was watching it was the like that mountain of skulls.
Oh yes.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
so we see that a lot in the marketing, and I've been seeing posters of that in the marketing. And I think it didn't hit me until I actually watched the movie. What an
Right.
actual horrifying image that actually is. If you
Yeah.
really think about it, it's
Right.
actually so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this movie does a great job with that. Ray Fiennes is in the movie,
Oh my
and
gosh. Ray Fiennes.
but he's definitely like in it, especially towards the back half of the movie, and he's really great. And I think it's what it is that like it's very emotional, very sad, and very very beautiful in that sense. And
Mhm.
then for a few minutes, it jumps right back into like
Back
horror,
to being scary.
back to being true scary horror. And then the final scene is very, very different. It sort of becomes
Yeah.
an action movie. It's this action film where, and this is where Jack O'Connell's character comes in.
Spoilies.
Yeah, you said I could spoil it, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, you can
spoil
spoil. You
away.
can spoil.
Yeah,
Spoil away.
I'm gonna tell everyone. Yeah, of course, Jack O'Connell, who we saw earlier this year in the antagonist role from Sinners. He's great in that, and this movie establishes him in the final scene. And I think what was like a little bit jarring here was the fact that like it's just like kind of like this short. It's not this huge action set piece, but it's like it's
It's
short.
really short, but it's sort of like a teaser to what is to come.
It's a teaser for what's to come, and also like I think like another thing that kind of threw me for a bit was like the music. It's like this heavy metal, like this like
Really?
very like a very soundtracky, like crazy kind of like music that where I was sort of like, this is just so like it's sort of like Whiplash, where we're like this
Mhm.
very like deep somber drama, and
And
then
then it's slowly
insane
like
horror,
crescendos
and
to.
then action. It's like three different kinds of movies.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of people like they talk about like they don't really like the ending scene because of how it's just like it's different from the rest of it, and it's like but it's also setting up the next 28 years later, because this new 28 years later, like
It is gonna be a trilogy.
it's gonna be a trilogy, and I know the next one is 28 years later, Bone
The
Temple.
Bone Temple,
The
which we
Bone
just
Temple.
saw actually.
Yes. Oh yeah, the Bone Temple. We saw teases of the Bone Temple, and now we're gonna see like everything. I'm sure Jack O'Connell is going to have a much bigger role
Mhm.
in the Bone Temple. I'm pretty sure he will. Yeah. Um, what else? Yeah, and also the Bone Temple is not going to be directed by Alex Garland.
It's
Uh,
I think it's Nia DaCosta, right?
it's Nia DaCosta, yeah, and she
Yeah.
directed.
So
Yeah.
I am
Familiar with her?
worried. I am worried that Nia DaCosta is coming into the director's chair.
What makes you worried?
I mean, I did look at her track record. She has a bit of a hit and a miss sort of filmography. And correct me if I am wrong. I think she was also behind Captain Marvel.
Not Captain Marvel 1, the Captain Marvel 2.
Yes, the Marvels. The Marvels.
Now, here's the thing with that. I did see the Marvels. I don't think it's a very good movie. However, I don't really blame Nia DaCosta for that.
Mm.
I think, to me, the Marvels felt more like studio interference. It felt like like there was a lot of like too many cooks in the kitchen. They were like trying
Right.
a lot of
Yeah.
different things. And I feel like it feels like Nia DaCosta's original vision for the Marvels was kind of like squandered.
Right.
And she's basically even said before, like, this, it's not really my movie, it's more of a Kevin Feige movie.
Right.
So I feel like that's why, like, it didn't, like, that movie didn't work for me. Before that, I mean, she definitely has work in horror before. She worked
Candyman.
Candyman, yeah.
Yes.
And I think the Candyman reboot, I don't think it's as good as the original Candyman from 1992.
Mhm.
But I think her interpretation of it was pretty good. I think it's
Right.
not perfect, but I think it works. And before that, I think she did this indie movie, I think called Little Woods.
Yes, she
Yeah.
did.
Have you seen Little Woods?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about it.
I saw it a long time, like 2019, back when it first came out.
Right.
And I remember giving it 4 stars on Letterboxd. But now here's the thing though, I watched it 6 years ago, so I don't remember the movie very well. But I remember the cast. It was Lily James. Is that it? Hold on, I'm gonna fact check myself there. Little Woods movie. Yes, Lily James. Yes, I was
Right.
Lily James and Tessa Thompson. Thompson, of course, ended up working. They ended up working together again. I believe Candyman as well. So yeah. Was Tessa Thompson in the Marvels?
Yeah. Yes, she did.
Yes?
She's Valkyrie.
I know she's Valkyrie. I just forgot if she was in.
She wasn't in the Marvels. She wasn't in. No, wait, she was.
Was she in the Marvels?
I think so. Yeah.
Hold
She had
on.
a cameo.
Really? I'm
I
thinking
think
it's like.
so. Yeah, she was.
It was.
Yeah.
She was. Okay. Cool. Wow. Yeah. See, in that case, yeah. Well, I completely forgot about that. Yeah. No. So I remember that that she had worked with Tessa Thompson again. So yeah, I want to fact check that. Tessa Thompson was not in Candyman, but Tessa Thompson was in the Marvels, which was directed by Nia DaCosta.
Right.
Yeah. She's gonna be directing 28 Years Later with Bo Temple. I think that it's gonna be pretty good. I know that what is it? I think that Alex Garland is returning to write the script for that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, in that case, yeah, it's gonna be his work again. And also, I think another thing that we want to be excited about is Cillian Murphy returning. Not in this movie, not in this 28 Years Later.
The next one.
He's an executive producer in this one, but he'll be back in the next one. And I heard that I don't think he'll be like a main role in the next one, but I heard that if they
There's a cameo.
I think it's if they do the 3rd movie in this trilogy and they're still looking for financing for that,
Right.
then that's going to be the one where Cillian Murphy really returns. And hey, Academy Award winner, I will be very happy to see him come back to this role because it's Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, for me, I feel the one thing that put me off was the aspect ratio. Because for a film like this, you would want the entire screen to be covered up, right? And I have a confession to make. I did see the movie again yesterday in Dolby, which is a premium format, by the way, which I highly recommend you guys check it out. Even then, the Dolby screen wasn't entirely covered. It was just almost as much as my screen is right now. And those two black lines are.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It might be even less than our screens right now.
Yeah.
Let's say this is a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. The only image you're getting is this much, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get films like Sinners, why they would use that sort of aspect ratio and then they would gradually expand it into IMAX format. I really wish this film was shot in IMAX though. It would have benefited so much. You would have had a more immersive experience. I mean, yes, the sound design is immaculate, by the way. I was in love with the soundtrack. and I know you have your thoughts about it, but I was in love with it,
Yeah.
and especially when Dolby happened, and when the first sequence where Boots starts playing. Mind you, they have integrated Boots in the movie. My chair was vibrating
Yeah.
when Boots was playing,
Oh,
and that was the best experience. So I really wish that that experience was not just based on sound, but also what we were seeing on screen. So the entire screen would be covered, so you would be like fully engrossed in the movie. And yeah, that was one thing that put me off. Another thing that sort of not necessarily dragged my interest, but like you said, it is three different kinds of movies tried and put into one. And maybe like towards the ending, I would have liked me a little more of Aaron Taylor Johnson.
yeah, because he's in it a lot for the first half, and
Yeah.
then like he's not really in it much for the second half. He does sort of like come back a little bit at the end,
Yes.
but not
I'm
like,
hoping that there's a reunion in the second one.
I would go too.
Fingers crossed about that.
That'd be nice. That would be very nice. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And yeah, that was pretty much what I didn't like about it. But back to what we loved about this movie was, well, the performances.
Oh yeah. No. Oh my gosh. Like
Jodie Comer,
Jodie
Ray
Comer,
Fiennes, Aaron Taylor Johnson, they all put their best foot forward.
yes, and obviously
Alfie Williams.
Alfie Williams, bro. We can't get enough of that person.
Oh my
He's
gosh.
incredible. He's so good.
Yeah.
I really like it. It's such a great year to like for obviously child performances, but also like I feel like it's a little bit like unfortunate how a lot of times like performances in horror movies don't get a lot of recognition.
Right.
People don't always think about like how people look for these prestige dramas for great performances, but so much of drama comes from horror, and there's so much like stuff here where I'm just like this. I've seen better performances in horror movies than I have seen
Right.
like a lot of like the stuff that gets like nominated for Oscars every year. And there's and this movie has some of the best performances of the year.
Yeah. If Alfie Williams doesn't get nominated,
Oh.
if Alfie Williams and the child in Bring Her Back, Jonah something.
I'm gonna look up his name.
Let's
I
look him
got
up. Let's look him up. It's gonna be a fierce competition between these two, because oh my gosh. Ah,
Jonah Wren Phillips.
yes, Jonah Wren Phillips.
Uh-huh.
If they both don't get nominated, I'm gonna riot.
You see, I think it's like I'd be very surprised if they both get nominated for Oscars, just because these are like horror movies, and the Academy rarely ever looks for horror, and there are going to be a lot of other great performances this year too. However, I'm in the Critics' Choice Association, and I think we have a category just for like best young actor,
Right.
young actress. So they're gonna be nominated. I'm gonna see what I can do about this. They need
Please do. If not, I'm gonna take a flight to LA, march down Hollywood Boulevard, enter the Dolby Theater, and be like, "What the hell are you doing?"
No, cause come on, they're so good. Like I remember like especially like just switching to Bring Her Back. Like I was just that kid's performance. I was just mortified. Like
Yes.
absolutely mortified the whole time. It's genuinely so good.
Yeah.
It's been a great year for horror, and a great year for performances in horror. And I
Great
think
year for performances.
20
Yeah.
years later, it's sort of like this great continuation of that trend, and it's really really good now. This
Yeah.
movie's coming out. Yeah, it was very good. Great movie, right?
Great movie, yeah. And speaking of Williams, I really loved how they did not treat it like, oh, this is an Aaron Taylor Johnson movie, oh, this is a Jodie Comer movie. This was Alfie's movie. This was his story, and and writer Alex Garland, he really knows how to like let Spike sort of take the lead in the story at first you feel like, oh, this is about a father-son sort of like training him to go to war and training him to go to like fight the rage virus and like bring us to the promised land. But I feel like Spike sort of has a very human side in him. He understands that yes, this is war, but it doesn't have to be this brutal. And I feel like Ray Fiennes also sort of brings it out in him, especially towards the end. I really loved the scene of Memento Mori.
Yes.
That scene was really well written.
Oh my god, yeah, the writing is very good. And I think it's Alex Garland. I mean, he brings a lot of humanity. I think to
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen the original 28 Days Later.
Yes.
That's a very human story, and I feel like it's got the human story as well, and the fact that it's a zombie movie is sort of just like the icing on the cake of that.
Right.
And
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are talking about it. Oh, we expected a zombie movie. I did not expect me to be like crying or weeping towards the end. I mean, that's the whole point of every Alex Garland movie.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
even if you look at like Civil War, if you look at Ex Machina, and these are films that he's directed, and
Yeah.
did he?
He wrote and directed.
He wrote and directed those
Yeah.
two. Yeah, so even in like moments of brutality, or even in moments where you feel like, oh, the machines are gonna take over, he finds a sort of human connection that has the possibility to grow. And he does the same with 28 Years Later. And, well, we already saw it in 28 Days Later. And also, I feel like Garland's writing is also borderline self-aware, and I love it. I love the fact that it's
I
self-aware.
want to hear more about this.
I feel like Garland sort of knows that, okay, yes, it's a zombie movie, but how about, since we are setting it in like 2030, and let's have like a little bit of a scene about the soldier and the mother and son sort of talking about future gadgets and being like, oh yeah, they don't necessarily work when you need them to work.
Oh yeah, right. You know, that was the thing that so when I first saw this movie, I mentioned this to you. I was like, hold on, wait, how do they have an iPhone?
Yeah.
How does that exist? And then I think upon further like thinking about it, I realized why they have that iPhone.
Right.
Like apparently like in the universe of this, the apocalypse and the zombie stuff that was contained to like Britain, right?
Yes.
That
Yes.
so and I think that's actually it's both really funny and dark how like literally everyone else in the world is fine. Everyone else is fine except for Britain.
Except for Britain.
They're
Yeah.
actually like there's this one wasteland where everyone is a zombie and everyone's turning into zombies, and America is like an ocean away, and they're like, no, we're producing the new iPhone 15. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Wow. Never thought about that because like usually in these like zombie movies, it's the whole world that's
Right.
impacted. Like the entire world's a wasteland. It's a whole post-apocalypse.
Yeah.
In the 28 Later franchise, it is just this.
it's just
This
like
one.
this one section of Britain, and the rest of the world is like,
Right.
yeah.
It's like if you're not connected with them like via like land, you are good.
You're
'Cause-
good.
Yeah, because like they're not. If you're infected, like you're not gonna be like hopping on a plane and jumping over to unless maybe you know what it is. Maybe the zombies at some point in the future they'll find a boat. They'll find a boat and they'll travel all the way across to America and infect everyone in America. Maybe that'll happen.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
no, what? And what if they, actually, since you did mention boats, what if they like take control of, what if they like, so we did see the quarantine patrol boats, what if they like just topple over and they somehow learn how to swim, and now you got the whole world infected?
No, imagine that they just swim from there to all the way to like fucking Hawaii or something.
Oh,
Like just like how they'll be swimming there for years. Arms are
oh my
tied.
god.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. And even the scene where I feel like Ray Fiennes' entry was also really well written.
Oh my gosh, yeah, because he's covered in.
He's
What
covered in iodine. He was covered in
Yeah.
he was covered in iodine.
Yeah, and I didn't know what that was when I first saw him. I was like, what is happening here? I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So, you know what? Ray Fiennes, by the way, such a great actor.
He is.
He's been in a lot of like he's obviously very mature roles. He's been Lord Voldemort, of course. I met him back in December.
Really?
Yeah, because like I met him at this like lunch to promote Conclave.
Right.
Because obviously this is like the biggest role that he was in. He was very nice, and I told him how much I loved him in Harry Potter. I had a picture with him. He was very, very cool. And what was it? Also, he's I'm excited to see like he's gonna be the next 28 years later.
Hopefully.
I hope so. Yeah. He's
Hopefully. I mean,
great.
I feel like they're sort of giving 28 years later the Dune treatment, where Dune Part 1 is just the world building, you're introduced to the characters, and there's like a bit of an emotional arc to it. And then 28 years later, the Bone Temple, you sort of see more progression in the story, and then the third one is the grand finale of all. So I feel like they're sort of giving it the Dune treatment, which has me excited and worried.
Oh yeah. Why does it worry you?
Worrying me because, well, the main criticism about Dune Part 1, which happened, was people came in for the whole story. They didn't want too much of a world building, which, well, Dune Part 2 sort of made up for that. But yeah, I feel like that's what's even happening with 28 years later. People are thinking that, oh, this is too much of a world building for them. And in the next one, they might be expecting something like, oh, this is now the next part of the story. And please let Ray Fiennes be there. Please let Ray Fiennes be there.
Right. Because you know what? Ray Fiennes, he's also going to be in the next Hunger Games movie.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going to be President Snow.
Yeah.
Can you imagine one person is the villain of Harry Potter and Hunger Games?
Oh my god.
Come on, this guy is incredible. Like we love this guy. And
Yeah.
And he's in so many other like actual like really like all the prestige Schindler's List. Like come on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And yeah, and I also feel like coming back to like the writing being very like self-aware. I also like the scene about when the soldier's showing him the fiance. So, that
was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that was also funny. And I feel like even with like the whole cinematography being very video gamey and being very like how you, again, video gamey, I feel like even the writing sort of had a role in directing that, I feel like. So when you see those kill shots, I can literally imagine on paper being like, twack, the arrow goes right through the heart, whack, the arrow goes right through the leg, or Spike misses it. So I guess even in those ways, the writing knew what it was doing. It knew that, oh yes, this is a zombie movie, and it's also sort of more of a human story. So you also see like there's a shift in the way the cinematography also happens. Like first when the action sequences are there, they're like the camera movements are like really rapid, but then when it comes to like Spike and Isla's story, that is the mother, it slows down. It allows you to breathe. I don't know whether you noticed that.
It does, yeah. No, I noticed it because like it's like during the first like it's basically really intense.
Right.
For a good like you know most of the first half, a little bit like maybe like for 60-70% of the movie.
Yeah.
slows down towards the end because it ends up becoming much more human, much more tragic and somber.
Yes. Yes.
And I feel like there's and I think that like there's so much with Jodie Comer's character that a lot of like people are going to be able to connect with because of how sad it is. The idea of like her having cancer, her dealing with the severe memory loss that she has
Yeah.
for the entire film. Like there are a lot of people who are like who can relate to those experiences and
Right.
like take care of people who have those conditions. And I think that this movie definitely manages to do that in the
Yes.
cinematography and also in the performances. But also speaking of the cinematography, I mean, the fact that like a lot of this movie is shot on iPhone,
Yes.
that's crazy. That's actually
Yeah.
But
I mean,
feel
there
like,
are a few like additional attachments, but
yeah, no, that's the thing I want to say. It's like if this movie was shot on iPhone with asterisks and a long footnote, because like I feel like the thing with this, I mean, like there have been a lot of filmmakers who like have shot movies on iPhone, like Sean Baker, Steven Soderbergh. They've all done their iPhone filmmaking, and I feel like what it is like. I mean, when you watch a movie that's shot on iPhone, you can kind of tell that it's shot on iPhone.
you know certain shots.
It does sort of like you can sort of like tell just like by the way it looks. In this, it's the first time where I'm like it's pretty seamless. Like, cause
Right.
like they didn't just use the iPhone for this. They shot a lot of it on iPhone, and they shot some of it on film cameras, and they shot
Right.
also some of it on digital cameras.
Yeah.
So it's three different types of cameras, and when they say shot on iPhone, of course they were attaching like all these like lenses and gadgets to it. So it's like they had it's the iPhone. It is an iPhone, but like there's a lot of like other stuff attached to it, and
Yeah.
so it's not that like I feel like that's like an important thing to know. It's like it's not like they
Right.
took their iPhones out of their pockets and then just pressed
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's
And
not that.
yeah,
But
and I was actually reading somewhere that people there were certain people who actually liked the fact that it is shot on an iPhone because the 28 Days Later movie, if you remember the cinematography there, it felt very like a documentary. So to sort of keep up with the times and show that how modern the world has become, and yet it's so like full, it's so quarantined, it's so segregated, you have the iPhone, and it's sort of like a continuation of, I guess, how technology has changed over the years,
absolutely.
especially when there's like a deadly virus on the loose.
I want to like look up what was the camera that he shot the original 28 Days Later on.
That is a really good question.
So portions of the film were shot on a Canon XL1 digital video camera.
Yeah, okay, that's a typical like
Yeah.
almost I think it's a Handycam.
It's let me see. It's like the Canon XL1. Yeah, it's like you can, it's a handheld. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like the reason why they used it because it was more maneuverable than traditional film cameras, and because they were shooting in these very big places, and they needed to they had to like sort of like get in, get out, especially
Right.
where Cillian Murphy's just walking and the whole place is deserted.
It's deserted. Right,
Yeah,
right.
they had to film that, they had to close off sections of it, shoot way early in the morning, and then just obviously 2 hours later flooded with people for rush hour, so they had
Yeah.
they didn't have too much time, so they had to go in, and I feel like it does create a very interesting effect because it does sometimes feel like you're watching CCTV surveillance footage.
Right, yeah.
It creates a very different effect.
It creates a really different effect. You're right.
It's a whole different texture. And I feel like I don't think that there's any other horror zombie movie that I feel like that has really embraced it like that without going full found footage. Right?
Yes.
This
Yeah.
Sort of it does its own style, and I feel like and that's really revolutionary as far as how Danny Boyle is always pushing the boundaries of what he can do with that, and I feel like
I think you also see glimpses of it in the beginning portion of 28 Years Later. I don't know how he got the footage of 19th century war or that sort, but if he did shoot if he did like reshoot them, then holy shit, hats off to that guy.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's got to be some archival footage. Right?
Yeah, it looks like an archival footage.
Yeah. You know, because like what it is was like that was another thing that I didn't really like gel with, by the way.
Oh.
I know like it's because hear me out. It's because it's at the beginning of it, and I wasn't entirely sure like what was being communicated, but I feel like it was also mainly a perspective of like it didn't feel like we were watching what we were watching.
A zombie movie.
It felt like we weren't watching it from like Aaron Taylor Johnson's character's perspective or Spike's perspective. You know,
Right.
it felt like the director's perspective, like sort of like a god's.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I get it.
You know, I wanted it to sort of so it became like I wanted it to be a little bit more of like a subjective experience of like, you know, we're seeing everything through the kid's eyes, or we're seeing
Right.
mother's eyes. That was definitely we're seeing things through a filmmaker's eyes, and
Got it.
be out of everything for a bit. But also, I mean, there's so much archival footage in that section, and like, edited in a very interesting way, and obviously like they're playing blues over it, so it's like
Of course.
no complaints about that.
No
None
complaints.
whatsoever. Yeah, blues is-
Yeah, I mean,
content, yeah.
sound. I mean, we already know 28 years later is already getting a nomination for sound design for me. Sound design and the soundtrack.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
I'm already putting my bids in.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. On that note, on a scale of 1 to 5, how many stars are you gonna rate it on Letterboxd?
I'm rating it a 3.5 out of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is pretty good, you know. Like, good thing. Like, hey, they quoted me in the marketing for this.
Okay.
so,
Yeah.
like, yeah. I have that going for me. I called it daring and bold, which
Yeah.
it is. This is
It
a
is.
daring
You're
and
right.
bold movie. Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a solid 4. Had it not been the aspect ratio, maybe I would have given it a 4.5. Not 5, 4.5.
That's fair, and you know, I think I was watching some Danny Boyle talk about like why he chose this aspect ratio, and I think it's because he wanted it to like he was aiming for something a little bit more immersive because he was like this is like you know he wanted it to feel wider, so it's like you know every time you're watching like you know the actors on screen you get a good sense of the world around them as well.
Right.
You're getting more of the picture of the world around them. So like whether that was an effective choice, I mean it doesn't always seem like it, but you know, yeah, right. I could definitely like hey,
I would want the whole screen to be covered. Thank you,
right, yeah.
Danny
You're
Boyle,
missing
but
some image.
You're missing something, yeah. And what would be your one sentence letterbox review?
One sentence letterbox review, as in something funny, something dark, something. What are we thinking here? How do we approach the letterbox review?
I'll probably say, Danny Boyle, please don't make us cry again.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's good. You know, all right. You know, I got mine. It's Jack O'Connell, you asshole. He's playing the horrible people. He's always playing horrible people.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what he does in 28 years
I
later.
want to see more of him. I cannot wait because he described this character as like you know I think this villain could be even worse than his villain in Sinners. Yeah. Even like more of a terrible person. So I am here for it. I want to see what happens here.
Oh my gosh, this is. I mean, Jack O'Connell having such a comeback, man. We're in the Jackasons.
This is the what is it? The O'Connaissance.
O'Connaissance. Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. O'Connaissance.
Yeah.
Sounds so beautiful. And yeah, and that was it. That was our review of 28 Years Later. Do let us know in the comments below what you felt about the movie. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, this is pretty